wanted to talk to you guys about 10 things that Americans do that seem very strange to Irish people. Now these are quite basic everyday things, and yet we do them so differently.
Unnecessary disclaimer time. Some Irish people do the things American people do, some American people do the things Irish people do. We're talking in generalizations.
Okay, the first thing that Americans do that seems very strange to Irish people because it's so different is eat breakfast. Now, we do eat breakfast in Ireland, don't get me wrong, but what we eat for breakfast tends to be very, very different. Now, I'm putting aside your basic bitch stuff like porridge and oats and stuff like that. So in America, I've noticed you guys tend to have really, really sweet foods for breakfast. You might even have a donut. Americans will also have things like waffles and maple syrup, which are really sugary, as well as a lot of very sugary cereal, which actually, as you guys know, if you've been watching the channel a while, I'm very much in favor of. I love sugary cereal. I just love it. I love it so much. In Ireland, people will tend to have a lot more savoury foods for breakfast. In fact, we enjoy savoury foods for breakfast so much, we've coined the term Irish breakfast. I've done that twice in this video. I don't know why, it just seems like it. Oh, stop it, I'll just sit on my hands. So an Irish breakfast, or a fry-up as we also call it, is made up of a couple of things. Black pudding, white pudding, controversially, which are kind of gross when you break them down. Rashers, not bacon, they are rashers. They're usually fried, but you can grill them, which in my opinion is much nicer. I actually did a video on Irish breakfast before on the channel if you want to check it out. We'll also have little tomatoes, baby tomatoes, and sometimes hash browns, which are different than your hash browns. Sausages, which are different to your sausages. They are pork sausages and they're really big. We'll have toast and butter with our toast, and usually something like orange juice or apple juice. There are a couple of staples involved as well, like Ballymaloe relish, which is just delicious. If you haven't tried it and you can get it over there, check it out, it's yum. But the Irish breakfast is actually renowned for being very good at soakage, which is what you need after you go out on a night on the town. Soakage, have a fry up, have an Irish breakfast. It's your only man. I use my hands again, I'm bringing them back. The next thing Irish people do that's basic but very, very different to American people is how we do dating. Courtship is very, very different in Ireland and America. In America, you can go up to a person on the street and essentially ask them if they'd like to go on a date, take their number, have a coffee. In Ireland, courtship is a lot more integral to the whole dating process. Now, don't get me wrong, we have started to use dating apps and things, so I guess maybe you could call courtship the more romantic side of things, but yeah, it's definitely an important part of the process. Again, I've done a video purely on this on the channel if you want to check it out. One thing I've noticed a huge amount of on apps like TikTok and stuff is when you see Irish couples and the fella will be saying something to the girl, and Americans in the comments will go crazy because they're like, you can't talk to your woman like that. If my man ever talked to me like that, that'd be terrible. But you've got to remember, teasing, slagging is a huge part of Irish relationships. It's banter, it's rapport, it's how you get along. The courtship ritual in Ireland traditionally goes on a very long time. Now, it's not exactly like it was back in the day. You don't have to go up to the girl's family and ask if you can court her and stuff, but basically you might be tiptoeing around each other for a very long time before anything actually happens.
Not always.
Relationships in Ireland are based a lot around personality, so it's a lot of seeing whether the two are compatible at that stage of the relationship, whereas in America it does seem a little bit more transactional from a distance, but you can let me know below in comments. It's just different. The next really basic thing that you guys do so differently in America is driving. Now, there are obvious things that you do, like driving on the opposite side of the road. Americans always say they drive on the right side of the road. Ha ha ha. Also, the age at which you start driving seems like crazy young to us, so people start driving in America at 14, 16. I think legally you're allowed to drive at 16, but you guys let me know in comments that sometimes you'll start driving younger than that. But a few other things I've noticed that are different is that Americans drive and text and drive and talk on the phone. In Ireland, driving and talking on your phone or texting is super illegal. Like, you will be pulled by Gardaí if they see you doing that. Now, I know in America, I think it's illegal in most states, but people just do it all the time. That's when I've gone over to America, that's the biggest thing I've noticed, and it just doesn't seem safe. People in Ireland do use the hands-free, but that's also kind of considered a hazard by Gardaí, just depending on the mood that they're in, so you just don't see it as much. Another thing that's different is the measurements. So in Ireland we use kilometers per hour, in America you use miles per hour, and in Ireland, to doubly confuse everything, when you cross the border into Northern Ireland you will convert back to miles per hour, so it's super confusing. Another really basic thing that you guys do totally differently is university. The whole university thing is very, very different. In Ireland, I think we're quite privileged in that going to university doesn't put us in a huge amount of debt that it does Americans. Don't get me wrong, if you're not fortunate enough to have your parents paying for your college, it's definitely going to leave you short, but it's not a debt that seems to carry through to most Americans' adulthood. Also, when you attend university in Ireland, you don't live there. You go home every day to your mommy and daddy usually. Usually students who live in a different county than they're going to university in, of course, will get an apartment with a bunch of housemates, but nobody lives on campus. That's just not a thing. I like the idea of living on campus. I think that seems really fun, but it also leaves you in this weird middle-y life stage. We don't have an equivalent of that in Ireland, so it's interesting to us, very different. The next thing you do that's very different is how you store dairy products. Now, milk is your basic thing. You're going to put milk in the fridge. It will go gross if you don't put it in the fridge. But in Ireland, you'll often find the butter on the counter, on the kitchen counter or on the kitchen table. And that's not a strange thing. You'll just see it there all the time. It's left there to be at room temperature and it doesn't go bad. Of course, if you leave it there for months, it would go bad, but you can just leave it away from the air under the butter dish. Because Ireland's not terribly hot, usually it's not going to go bad early. Again, I'm sorry about the birds chirping. Can't do anything about them. Call it ambiance. The reason we leave eggs out in the open is because of the way they are farmed differently. So in America, they're treated with chemicals after they come out to get the salmonella away, whereas in Ireland, they basically have to come out of the chickens into an environment that is seen to be fit for purpose. They have to basically be clean when they come out of the chickens. So in America, it's crucial that after they come out of the chickens that they are washed to prevent salmonella. Usually they're kept on very large farms, whereas in Ireland, they're kept on pretty householdy sized farms, and basically chickens have a better life and they eat like a different type of thing, and they're kind of sanitary when they come out of the chickens. Of course, you can run your egg under the tap, that's no problem. Basically in the EU, the priority is on farm husbandry and practices, whereas in the US, it's on how they are produced after the fact. Again, not a farmer, do feel free to look that one up. The next big difference is in how Americans say goodbye. It's as simple as see ya in America or bye. In Ireland, we've had to come up with something to make things easier known as the Irish goodbye because we struggle to say goodbye. If I'm saying goodbye to one of my friends, it'll go on like a really long time potentially. Bye bye. If you've ever seen an Irish person hang up the phone. Oh. I don't know why we find it so difficult to say goodbye. We just do. Americans are just more direct and to the point. They just say bye. The Irish goodbye is basically when you ghost everybody at an event or something, you'll just leave without telling anyone, and then you prevent having to go around to each individual person and say goodbye. It's kind of seen as rude if you go to like two people and say goodbye and you don't say goodbye to other people who might find that to be a snub, so sometimes it is better to just ghost an Irish goodbye. The next thing that Americans do totally different to the Irish is self-promotion, okay? And I think this is tied in majorly with the whole culture that is Irishness. I am notoriously bad at self-promoting. You could say this channel would be doing better if I was better at it. I just don't like to do it. It feels braggy to me. I've talked about Irish begrudgery before on the channel, so that's kind of maybe tied in a little bit with the guilt of that. You don't want to be getting notions about yourself. As a result, I do fail to share things, like for example that I have a second channel I've been working on a lot. I'm very proud of it. It's going well, but it's kind of a secret channel because I don't like to self-promote it, although I just kind of did there, so that worked out well. Americans are amazing at self-promoting. They will tell you their entire CV when you meet them, a list of their accomplishments, and more power to them. It's actually a good thing, although it does feel a little braggy to us Irish sometimes because it's just not something we're used to. In Ireland, we tend to think that, look, if the person is good enough about doing something, you're going to figure it out sooner or later, but in a lot of cases it's later. We just don't like to brag. It's not a thing that we like to do, and short of doing that, we just don't self-promote at all. You might point to Conor McGregor as an example, but personally speaking, I just disown the man. He's a bad man. There'll be more stuff coming out about him in the future. The next thing that Americans do that's very basic but totally different is you guys tell the time totally differently to how we tell the time. Americans say 2:15 or 2:20 or 2:45. We can do that sometimes, but mostly we'll say it's 2:15, it's 2:30, it's 25 to 3. Additionally, in Ireland, we use the 24-hour clock, or what you might call military time. Usually we do that when we're writing something down, but we'll say like something is 15:45. I don't think we tend to say it like that in conversation so much, but it definitely could confuse Americans. And finally, the number one big difference I have found in basic things is in Ireland, you are environmentally conscious whether you like it or not, whereas in America, it's definitely a choice and a lifestyle. In Ireland, you tend to only get given a certain amount of space for rubbish. In that, you will usually have your main rubbish bin, your recycling bin for like paper, plastics, cardboard, which is a type of paper. And then you'll also have your like composty bin where you put like food products or throw away flowers or things like that.
What did you say?
Those are your bins, and they're small enough that you have to ration them out because usually you won't have space in your main bin if you don't put them in each bin. I know in America you have the option to do that, but in Ireland you kind of have to. We also have the immersion system where you turn your water heater on for a certain amount of time in the day. You'll set it to a timer usually, or you'll have a system whereby you'll turn on the immersion first thing in the morning and then turn it off as soon as everybody's done having a shower for hot water. You don't want to waste that hot water because it costs you money, also thereby saving the environment. And also, of course, we have the bag tax in supermarkets and stores. If you want a plastic bag, you have to pay for it, encouraging people to use their recyclable bags. Anyway, that's it for the major things today. Let me know if you think there are any major differences between Ireland and America below in the comments. For now, Chewy's going to do a couple of shout-outs. Who do you want to shout out today, buddy?
Okay, my first shout out is very special. It's for my friend Brian. He's a great doggy daddy to my online wolf friend Velvet, and he's feeling a little bit blue, so I'm going to sing him a song. When I feel it blue, all you have to do is take a look at you. I hope you liked it. We're so pleased to have him, and I'm sure you guys are too. So sending Brian lots of good vibes, and I hope he feels lots better soon.
Very good, thank you so much. Anybody else?
The second shout out goes to my friend Curtis Watkins, who wants to say congratulations to engineer Tyson and his wife Ryan. It's so nice to see a brand new lovely human in the world. Congratulations on your new addition to the family.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so great. Thank you, Chewy. You did a great job. Say goodbye to everybody.
No.
That's it for today. See you on the other side. Bye. Am I in the middle? No one can tell. Looks like the middle to me. Probably isn't. Oh, I hate my hair. I want to go to a hairdresser. Stupid hair. Put it in clips. It's gross.